So Rocco is obviously having problems. It's been rough. He's been off. He's been missing passes that he normally makes, making some weird decisions. Obviously had the big a couple picks last week again, 3 picks last week against BYU. And then this past, or 2 weeks ago, and then this past weekend, have the really, really bad one right after the Ben Bramer situation. And the the question, I guess, is like what do you do with that? What do you do with that going forward? Because right now, it it's not as though it's not as though Rocco has played so bad that you have to bench him. That's not what's happening. He's missing throws he should make. Some of the throws he is making, and he's making it, and just some of the really accurate throws he is making, the receivers are dropping them sometimes. Even tight ends dropping them and stuff like that too. So it's certainly not all his fault. The protection could be, the protection absolutely could be better. Um, but I'm not sure exactly what you do here because Rocco has 3 times over earned the right to have a bad game. And he's earned the right to have a couple bad games. Like it's not, he's done so many things for Iowa State in his, 2.5, 2 and 3/4 seasons starting, that he's earned the right to have a few bad games. But at a certain point, you have to start asking, like, how much is this? Where does this lie? Like, what are the root causes of this? And Matt Campbell was asked about it a little bit, today in his press conference, and kind of gave the answer you would expect, which is it's a little bit of everything. And he's a little bit banged up. He's in a little bit of a funk. It's this, and this, or whatever. And I don't know that there's a better solution waiting behind Rocco. Connor Moberly, like, again, no offense at all to Connor or to Alex or anything. I mean, there's a reason Rocco's starting and they're not. And there's a reason there's never been a conversation about anybody other than Rocco starting. Um, Connor and Alex have come in random, in garbage time spots, or, just one-off plays to just run the ball once or something. Mansky's been in more than Moberly this year. And I'm assuming like they're in a spot with either of them that, like, if they had to come in, like if Rocco actually had to come out of the game for a long stretch, that one of them could go in and orchestrate the offense, at least in some capacity. But I this is a tricky situation here. You have to it's kind of an interesting tightrope to have to walk here for Matt Campbell and Taylor Mauser a little bit. Um, is figuring out, because the trick here is as identifying why Rocco is where he is. It absolutely could just be a confidence thing. Um, I think I mean there's confidence issues involved, no question about it. I think everybody at this point, anybody that follows Iowa State at this point has found the line of demarcation of when Rocco started struggling, which is, after he took the hit against Cincinnati. Um, I want to be make sure it's very, very clear that I do not believe that Iowa State did anything wrong as far as like not following concussion protocols or any of this. I do not. I want to make it very clear that I'm not suggesting that they skirted some rule or something like that. However, I'm sure Rocco passed his test just as he's supposed to. It is absolutely within the realm of possibility that he passed his test during the game. He has continued to pass tests since then, but is still dealing with concussion-like symptoms, or is still dealing with um, with after effects of that, whether it's a confidence thing or whether he literally legitimately was dealing with some sort of side effects from that hit. You know, I think it's very obvious that situation, that hit had some sort of negative effect on Rocco, whether it was a physical injury in the form of a concussion or whether it's a confidence thing where now he doesn't really feel like running it like ever because he's afraid he's just going to get blown up again like that. Which, for the record, during the game, I remember seeing some Cincinnati fans suggesting that wasn't targeting, which is the most insane shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, I can appreciate an unrepentant homer that just wants to boo a call because it goes against your team. I get it. We do it in obviously fans do it in basketball all the time. I'm not gonna pretend that that was I'm not gonna pretend that no fan base does that. But if that hit on Rocco isn't targeting, then there is no point to the rule, and we should just go back to pretending concussions don't exist like we did 15 years ago. Which is obviously stupid. We should not do that. But if that's not targeting, then that's essentially what you're suggesting. Um, yeah, Fred's exactly right here. Yeah, huge hit at Cincy. Anyone we hear footsteps. Yeah, that's the hard part about this is like is Rocco has been so good throughout his career, and but like in the struggles that he's having right now are so easily explainable as not like there's so much of it that just isn't his fault. Like it's not his fault that the Cincinnati defender decided to tee off on him, uh, and and go helmet to helmet on him, and just blast him like that. It's not his fault. He was trying to get out of the pocket, got grabbed by a defender and spun around so he couldn't keep track of where everything was in front of him. Then as soon as he got turned back forward, the safety's right there to smoke him. You know, that's not his fault. It's not his fault that sometimes that his receivers keep dropping passes. It's not his fault if the protection just isn't doing its job. None of that is his fault. It is his fault if he's missing throws. If he misses a receiver by 6 feet high, that's his fault. It just is. Like there's that's all it is. But like there's so much of this that just like it's just adversity for Rocco to overcome, and none of it is like self-created. It's not easily corrected. And at this point in the season, everybody's so banged up. He's been wearing a shoulder brace for a while. Like I'm sure that is affecting something. Um, but if you're Matt Campbell and you're the staff, if you still believe that Rocco is in a place right now, both physically and mentally, in which he can keep playing and not do any sort of permanent damage to either his psyche or to his body, then fine, go ahead and keep playing him. But if you think that, I'm curious where the line would be as like how poorly do things have to go before we say, hey, we need to pull Rocco out, just like you did to Brock Purdy in the 2021 Iowa game. He's having a terrible game. He's throwing like 3 or 4 picks or something like that, and you have to pull him out, and Hunter Deckers finishes the game. How poorly do things have to go before you think about doing that with Rocco and just saying, hey, we need to pull him out. He's obviously just too banged up. The confidence thing is a problem. We need to get him off to the side and let him just process the game off the field, let things slow back down, let him not feel like he's, let him just get a second to kind of collect himself. Um, and now where that line is, I'm sure I mean, it's dependent on how the game's going, how other things are going. Part of it's also dependent on how ready they think either Connor Mobley or Alex Mansky are. You know, I believe most of us believe Mansky is probably the guy after Rocco. I mean, short of them, if they get Israel Abrams in the 2026 class and he turns out to be the second coming, then then you have a conversation. But right now, most people believe that Mansky is the guy after Rocco, and is he ready to go? They've put him in a few different situations. Now you've played him in enough games so far that you can't just play Alex Mansky, just start Alex Mansky for the last couple games of the season, because I think he's already played in. I'm gonna check, but I think he's already played in three games for sure. Let me see here. It's a good question, actually. So he has played in. Alex Mansky has played in. Oh, he's only played in 2 games. So he's played in South Dakota and he played 2 snaps against Cincinnati. So he's got 2 games left. If Rocco is still really struggling this weekend, I don't know if you need to. Like I said, I don't think you need to bench him, but like, if you think he needs a half, he needs a quarter or a half, or maybe a full game just to get himself right, just to get recentered and to get himself back into a good place. I'm in favor of doing that, because Rocco is still going to be the starter next season, for his senior season. Um, he's still your guy for 2020 for 2026. And I know talking about 2026, there's still 3 games left. I get it. I would say at this point, it's literally just playing for a bowl game. I mean, that's that's all that's happening right now, and that's like okay. And this is absolutely part of it. Sitting him could smash his confidence. I mean, it absolutely could. That's why this is such a difficult line to toe. Is does he need time off to get right, and then you can put it back in, or does pulling him out, ruin his confidence and say, hey, and that's just it for Rocco. I don't, I believe that Rocco is a competitive and tough enough human being that I don't think, getting pulled for half, I don't think is something that would permanently damage his confidence. Because I think even he's been as critical of himself. I mean, if you watch him in the press conference, like it's hard not to feel bad for the kid because even in his press conferences, you look and he's someone asked him is like, what do how would you evaluate yourself? He's just like, he's like damn near in tears and he's saying, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And, I'm sure for him, it's such an emotional time for him because he's not playing well. And at the time in that post game thing, he didn't know if Ben Bramer was okay. So like, you can't help but feel terrible for the guy because he's been dealt a shit hand right now. And unfortunately, it's just not going well for him. For Iowa State, like I said, I would say it's essentially completely out of the title game race. I think I think there's technically like one like bonkers scenario that Iowa State could theoretically get there, but I mean it's not happening. Iowa State is all but mathematically eliminated from the Big 12 title game chase. So I mean, at this point, you're trying to finish on a good note, get to a decent ball game. And feel like you're on the upswing and that you're in a good spot and you're on, you're in a good spot and you're on the upswing heading into next season. Uh, because you got, for 2026, you get pretty much everybody back. You're going to get Jeremiah Cooper back. You're going to get Jontez Williams back. You're going to get, I think, every receiver except for Daniel Jackson. You're going to get all of them back. You're going to get all of your tight ends back. You're going to get a decent chunk of your offensive line. You're going to lose a couple offensive line, but you're going to get a decent chunk of your offensive line. You're going to get both of your running. You're going to get all 4 of your running backs back, plus a new one. You're going to get pretty much all your linebackers back. You're going to lose Caleb Bacon, but you're going to get a good chunk of your linebackers back. You're going to get a lot of your safeties back. This is and you're going to get, you're going to get most of. You're going to get most of your team back. Frankly, it's 2026. If Iowa State can stay healthy, 2026 could be a really good year for Iowa State, but we'll see. Can we stop the calling for firings of coach staff? The idea that anybody's calling for firings of coaches and when Iowa State is 5-4 is insanity. Iowa State was in a Big 12 title game last year and started out the season 5-0. Yes, they have hit a very tough stretch here, but up until this last month, Iowa State had won 16 of its last 18 games. That is an unbelievable stretch in the context of Iowa State football. 16 of 18. That's a crazy stretch of football. I totally agree. It's just Twitter. It's just Twitter dumbasses. And yeah, I don't know anybody in person that's like, oh yeah, these could, yeah, no, nobody in person. It's the only people that are actually calling for that are people on Twitter or whatever, or Blue Sky or whatever that are just, they are faceless trolls, or just maybe they have their name on there and they just are a troll and they just don't know ball. To me, if anybody is looking at any of these burners saying, oh, that any of these burners saying that any of these coaches need to go, do not listen to them. Frankly, most of them probably block worthy. It's up to you, I guess. But I had one this past weekend give me and actually start harassing a member of the equipment staff because they had the gall to not share the uniform colors for this past weekend. And one of the burners decided it was their calling to cuss out this college intern on the equipment staff. And from there, I immediately blocked them from my account, from the Wide Right Night Light account. And my patience with burners is incredibly low. Uh, if any burner is like even remotely shitty to anybody, I block them immediately. If they tweet stupid shit, I block them immediately. I have no time for any of them. And frankly, I don't think anybody should give any of them their time. There are a few of them that like generally are fine, or that like they don't do anything stupid. But for the most part, most burners suck. They just do. Um, and if you are one of the people that runs a burner, don't be one of the burners that suck. So, anyways, as far as the QB situation goes, though, you keep playing Rocco. You have to talk to him and see what he thinks is going on. But if the poor play continues, you have to talk with him and decide, is him playing poorly going to do more long-term damage than sitting him for a little bit? If you think sitting him and for a half or for a quarter and letting one of the other quarterbacks do their thing, you know, if that's what needs to be done to get Rocco back to being Rocco, then you do it. And because like I said, at this point, you're trying to win at least one more game to get to a bowl game. You either need to win one game or two. You either need to win one game or you need to win out, because 7-5 is asking for the fucking Liberty Bowl. And God damn it, I do not want to. I'm not going to Memphis again. It's just not happening. I'm over the Liberty Bowl. I do not want to play in it. I think it's a dumb stadium. I don't like I don't like any I don't like any part of the Liberty Bowl. The only cool part of the Liberty Bowl is the player of the game trophy, which is this big gold eagle thing that's sweet as hell. When Alan Lazard won it, I've seen the trophy in person. It is awesome. That is the only part of the Liberty Bowl that I care to interact with anymore. I'm done with the Liberty Bowl, especially after having to play Memphis in it twice. Stupid. Um,